Good morning, Cokesbury. How are you? Hey, I'm Paul. I'm one of the worship guys here. Can I tell y'all something? Hey, don't tell anybody else this. I was talking about y'all the other day. The 10 o'clock crowd. You know why? Man, I said that 10 o'clock crowd, I don't know what happens. I don't know what coffee they're drinking. These guys can sing. This 10 o'clock crowd knows how to praise and worship. So we just want you to know, we are so grateful to be here, praise and worship with you. Hey, Josh French is here this morning. Say good morning, Josh, everybody. All right, listen. We're going to pray for Kirk and Dina. Both of them call me like this. Hey, Paul. So they're both out. So we got the A team here. Josh and Sydney are here. Right?
Sure.
I'm telling you. So no handshaking, no touching, no, just wave to the person next to you. Welcome them to Cokesbury this morning. Yeah.
us whole, and you shoulder our weakness. Your strength becomes our own, and you're making me like you, clothing me in white, bringing beauty from ashes. For you will have your bride, free of all her guilt, rid of all her shame, and known by her true name. And that's why I sing your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. And you will be praised, and you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. And you will be praised, and you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. And you will be praised, and you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. And you will be praised, and you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. And it's why I sing your praise. Your praise will, your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my Your praise will ever be on my lips.
Christmas Hope is an opportunity to share the hope of Christmas with our friends and neighbors connected to our outreach ministries. On Saturday, December the 7th, we'll gather on the North Campus for a meal, fellowship, and an opportunity for families in need to shop for gifts at a fraction of retail prices. Here's where you can help. Stop by the table and guest services or visit cokesbury.tv/holidays to volunteer to serve and to get details on our Target Charity Registry to stock the Christmas store.
Good morning, Cokesbury. How are you? It is great to see you. I'm Anna. I'm one of the pastors here. Will you all say hey to everybody worshiping with us online? Give them a round of applause. Good morning. We're so glad you guys are with us. And if you are visiting today, hey, so glad that you came. Thanks for coming to Cokesbury. We're glad to have you guys here. Okay, now, if you're kindergarten through second grade, let's hear it for you. You are going to head to the banner at the back of the room. If you're third through fourth grade, you're heading to this banner. Fifth and, yeah, give them a round of applause. Fifth and sixth grade, headed this way. We love our Cokesbury students and our 56ers. These guys are the lifeblood of this church, and we're so excited to see them going right now to their special times of worship and study. They are in here with us in worship, and then they get to go to their age level classes and learn about what it means to be a follower of Jesus, just like we're doing in here. So we thank all the folks that make that happen. And if you've never sent your kid to Cokesbury Kids or 56, you can go with them, see what that's all about, and get involved. We'd love to have them with us, learning and growing with us every week. Y'all, the holidays are coming, whether you're ready for them or not ready for them, it's happening. So we want to make sure you grab one of these. If you are here in the room, you can grab one of those at guest services or on your way out. If you are watching us online or listening to a podcast, you can go to the Cokesbury app or cokesbury.tv/holidays. You can get all this information. But one of the most important things I want you to know that's coming up very fast is one of Cokesbury's longstanding traditions is the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We always have a big Thanksgiving worship service. So we're going to do 2 of those, both at 6 p.m. on November the 24th. One here in this room, one across the street. Across the street, there's going to be an orchestra, incredible music. Here, of course, incredible music as well, including some original songs that you're going to want to hear, and special guest Chris Blue. So don't miss it. Yeah, it's going to be so fun. So the holidays can be crazy, and we want to take time to pause and really be thankful, to mark that moment in our life, to spend time thanking and praising God, which we're going to do right now, too. We've got some folks who are going to come up, and they're going to help us take an offering. And a lot of you guys give online. Some of you are doing recurring giving. We just appreciate that so much. You can give in tons of different ways, and some of you are going to give right now in the offering baskets, and we are just so appreciative of that. Guys, the way that you're investing in this place is allowing all of us to work together so that people can come to find hope in Jesus. Amen? Let's pray together. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for every person in this room, every person listening, every person watching. God, we ask that you would make yourself known to us this morning, that we'd leave this time together closer to you and closer to each other and ready to change the world. In your son Jesus' name that we're praying. Amen.
Said when I'm drawn my last breath, besides the folks I met and the folks who know me, will I discover a soul-saving love, or just the dirt above and below me? I'm a doubting Thomas. Took a promise, but I do not feel safe. Oh, me a little faith. Sometimes I pray for a slap in the face, then I beg to be spared, 'cause I'm a coward. If there's a master of death, I bet he's holding his breath, 'cause I show the blind and tell the deaf about his power. I'm a doubting Thomas, can't keep my promises, 'cause I don't know what's safe. Oh, me a little faith. Can I be used to help others find truth? When I'm scared, I'll find proof that it's a lie. Can I be led down a trail, dropping breadcrumbs to prove I'm not ready to die? Please give me time to decipher the signs. Please forgive me for the time that I've wasted. I'm a doubting Thomas. I'll take your promise, though I know nothing's safe. Oh, me of little faith. Oh, me of little faith.
Good morning, Cokesbury Church. What is up? My name is Josh French. I'm the Director of Student Ministries here, and I just started my third year with this crew, and man, I'm having the time of my life, and it is just an honor to be standing here with you today. It is a nice change of pace, a good way for us to be reacquainted or to meet for the first time. So I hope I'm just excited to be here. I'm just excited to be here. All right, can I just be honest? I am really, thank you. Woo! I'm thankful for the smattering of woos. So if you don't know, I speak mainly to middle school and high school students, and every now and then, 5th and 6th graders. We're going to talk more about them a little in a minute, but just a few ground rules. So when I'm sharing a message or a devotion with the 56ers, man, they just think it's a conversation in like the most like blessings like kind of way, where I can just really be on one and they'll just chime in with their thoughts or opinions or corrections in some cases, and like it's really cool. But at the same time, it's just like, hey, like I'm trying to do a thing here, so like you know. But they're great. I'm gonna gush in just a few minutes. But middle school, sometimes they'll raise their hand, they'll ask questions. I did have this one middle school dude that thought it was like his duty to really encourage me, and every time he thought I was making a great point, he would just go, "Yeah, boy." So, like, if that's your thing, that would really kind of pump me up. I don't know where you're at, but if that's how you feel the Spirit. Whatever. And then we get to high school, and high school, they are an attentive bunch when they're not on their phones. They're prone to some heckling or some talking amongst themselves, but they are just a group that I just love to spend time with because with them, it really is a message and a conversation and a connection. And so that's kind of like who I am. So you have free reign here. It's hard the list of things you could do that I would be surprised by is small. Even if you wanted to get on all fours, crawl up in front of the stage and jump out at me like this, that also has happened to me before. So you do you, and I'm gonna do me, and we're gonna get along. I know you're probably asking a couple of other questions I just want to answer just right off the top real quick. Now that I'm here, can we finally talk about the new Kanye West album? Yeah. All right. It's great that Kanye has exposed his audience to the basic theology, I believe in Jesus Christ. I am for that. As rap albums go, it's okay. All right. The beard, I'm not participating in No Shave November. This is a 2-month-long process for me to have a mustache for 2 days as a joke. So really, it's not that I don't care about men's health. This is just really like for the transition for you guys, that it's just not awkward for everybody. So that's all that this is. My wife hates it. She will hate the mustache later. But that's between her and I. We're working through that stuff. Anyway, I know I just wanted to knock that out so that we can be together right here, right now. Okay, so if you don't know, I am married for 6.5 years now. Yeah, I did that math real fast. We have a daughter, her name is Jenny. Our daughter's name is Maddie. She turns 3 at the end of the month. And Maddie is just like the second best thing that has ever happened to me, with Jenny, my wife, being the first. So these two, I am just in love with these like fiercely strong, lovingly opinionated women. I'm kind of a time traveler in that it's like living with the same person, just like a few years apart. It's just like, oh, you're gonna, oh, yep, okay, I understand. So we lived in Durham, North Carolina before moving here. My wife worked at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill for about 5 years. So last weekend, and I'm telling you this so that you know like where I am right now. So last weekend on Friday, we planned a trip to Chapel Hill to just hang out with our friends, to visit campus. Jenny has some cousins that live there now. We're going to stay. It's going to be like a great weekend for the kids to play together, just to kind of reconnect, just to get away. That was all it was. So we are on our way. It's about a 6-hour drive. We get about halfway there at a town in North Carolina, and we stop at a very popular fast food, chicken-centric restaurant. Not that one, the other one. Okay, not the one you're thinking of, because we had the Jesus chicken in the morning, not part of the story. We stop. Life with a 2-year-old, soon to be 3-year-old, is an adventure. Meals are no exception. So we get through that. It's about nap time. We're about to get on the road. Hopefully she's asleep. Maybe another hour or so. She's awake. Boom, destination. So we're going to the bathroom because that is a rule. You have to at least go try. And as we're going to the bathroom, we pull the door open, and my beautiful daughter, just being a child, is just running her hand along the door, and the door shuts with her finger in the hinge. Okay, that's the bad part. The story ends that she will recover 100%. We had a great visit with all the doctors and the orthos, and like she's gonna be fine. Okay, she's gonna be fine. But I'm gonna tell you this story so that you know where I am and what I've experienced the last 10 days. So my daughter, the beautiful girl, perfectly fine. We're 6 weeks, perfectly fine. So anyway, she pinches her finger in this door, and I open it, and I see some blood, and I think, well, okay, maybe that's a broken nail. That's a real bummer. But we can heal from that. Like, we can fix that. We'll be fine. So I walk into the women's restroom because my daughter is now bleeding from her hand. So I give myself permission to go in there and get a wet paper towel, ready to attend to first aid. And my wife, who is the hero of this story, has a sense of calm about her that is almost scary, to where she just looks at me in a very calm demeanor and tone and says, I think we're going to need to go to the hospital. But she did it like in a way, kind of like, if you were to say, hey, we need to talk. So it's really calm, but you're about to have your heart ripped out in like 10 minutes or whatever that is. So she does this in this scary, calm way of like, hey, I think we need to go to the hospital. Shows me the hand, and I just said, yeah, we do. So she's so calm, I immediately do the opposite of calm, which is freak out in the women's restroom, to which I'm still currently standing. So then we walk out, we're kind of in the hallway here, and I just grab the first employee that I can find who, God love her, probably retired, just doing that to get out of the house. And I just say, ma'am, where is your closest hospital? And she just said, well, and I just said, ma'am, where is your closest hospital? I didn't sing it. I don't know why I just did that for you. So I just shouted louder. Where's your closest? She said, well, there's 2. And I just said, thanks. So then I turn and look in the direction of the kitchen and the counter where most of the people are. And I just yell, where is the nearest hospital? And someone who is trying to be very kind, but ultimately super unhelpful from the back goes, which way are you going? I just said, I'm going to the closest one. I do not live here. I'm from out of town in need of the nearest hospital. And then they're like, well, there's 2. You could go. I was just like, you know what? You do it. You bring the hospital me. Somebody call 911. Just get them on the horn. Get an ambulance here because we don't have time to do this here. Thankfully, an angel who is like a part-time hospital employee, EMT, I'm not sure, picks up the phone and calls an ambulance. Now, I do wonder, looking back on it, did people hear me say, where is the nearest hospital? Because I'm like really sure that's what I said. However, people responded as if I walked out there and said, okay, wallets and jewelry in a bag, everybody on the floor, eyes down, nobody tries to be a hero, nobody gets hurt. The woman is on the phone, probably calling police or a SWAT team, and she just goes, yes, police. Nope, we need an ambulance. It's actually an ambulance that we need. It's a first aid situation, not a robbery. I wonder, is that what really happened in that moment? But anyway, the EMTs come. They were fantastic. They were incredibly soothing to my baby girl, who was justifiably freaking out. And the mother, who was like super calm, continued to be super calm, while the dad just kept yelling at people in this fast food restaurant. It's just like, what, you do something. Because I didn't know what to do. I just wanted somebody to do something, and I had no clue what to do. Fast forward, we go to the hospital, and the directions were, go 2 exits down, make a left, the hospital's on the left. See, that wasn't hard. We get there, they've already gone back, and I am greeted by the guy with the computer on the cart to start doing insurance and paperwork and stuff like that. And I can see that Maddie is still hurting, still struggling, and I just said, hey man, like, can you do anything for the pain? Is there, can you offer some sort of like Tylenol or something? He just goes, man, I can't do that. Now, if it was a bullet wound, I'm your guy. I was just like, dude, where did you think we just came from? Like, do I look like a gunfighter to you? That I brought my kid with me to the show? Like, where do you think we've been? Later, that guy would still look at me and he would go, man, we're expecting our first daughter in February. I mean, how do you do it? Girl dad and all. And I was just like, well, friend, let me tell you, I have almost robbed a chicken chain restaurant today. My daughter will probably require minor surgery. You know what? When the book comes out, 9 out of 10 ain't bad. A Dad's Guide to Surviving Toddlerhood. I'll send you a signed first edition. How about that? And you'll have all of my secrets because they are wonderfully on display today. I did not say that. I just said, yeah, I don't know, man. But I mean, I want you to know that because every hour of every day since last Friday, so the last 9 days, I've thought about that accident. I thought, what could I have done differently? My wife and I have had that conversation of are we even like fit to be parents? Like, I mean, can we do this? Is this, what did we do wrong? Like, there's all kinds of doubt that has immediately creeped into our mind over this thing that we love, this beautiful human being that we love, and we've kind of beaten ourselves up. We are living in this doubt, and it's not just that, like, it's not just, like a parent kind of thing, but it's also like a professional kind of thing. Like, I'm a part of this student ministry cohort. We meet in Nashville every other month, and I've never been challenged like this by a group of student ministry professionals. We're challenged in different ways to think differently, to consider leadership styles, to become more self-aware, to rethink and reimagine value systems. We're challenged to explore the art of spiritual discernment. I'm reading books that I would have never picked out for myself. But now they're assigned reading, and I've got to do it. So I'm throwing myself in these uncomfortable, incredibly deep and murky waters and discussions. And to be quite honest with you, the last 8 days, because I was in Nashville doing this exact same thing Tuesday and Wednesday, the last 8 days have been tidal waves of doubt hitting me all over. Can I do this? More than that, God, is this what you have for me? Is this still what you desire for my life? God, is this still your plan? Am I still living into your will? The other thing is we're in this series called Legends. A few weeks ago, I was asked to participate. An incredible honor. But they said, hey, we'll let you pick your legend. And I thought, okay, here we go. So I wanted to pick someone relatable, somebody that I understood. And I said, you know what, I'll do Thomas, the disciple from the New Testament. Perfect. 2 weeks later, I'm experiencing doubt like I've never had before. And now I get a chance to talk about this man they call Doubting Thomas. So, here we go. The story that he is famous for comes from John 20. And I guess, Doubting Thomas has always had, this sad trombone kind of behind his name. Like if I hear about Thomas, I'll immediately hear that Price is Right noise, just he just got that vibe about him. It's just like, this guy, he didn't even believe Jesus was alive. How could he be a legend? How could he be a hero of the faith? Let me share with you some things. Let's pick up in John 20, verse 24. One of the 12 disciples, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, was not with the others when Jesus came. All right, pause. We don't know why he wasn't there. He just wasn't. In this chapter in John, Jesus has risen from the dead. He's come out of the tomb. He has revealed himself first to Mary, and then she went and told the disciples, and then Jesus went and visited the disciples. Thomas was not with them. We do not know where he was. We just know he was absent. Verse 25. They told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he replied, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hands, put my fingers into them, and place my hand into the wounds in his side." All right, let's stop right there, and let's start to really take a look at this guy. We don't know how old Thomas is. Actually, we don't know a ton about Thomas. But I'm convinced that Thomas was a teenager. Let me explain. We, as I mentioned, Cokesbury Student Ministry are segmented into 3 groups. 5th and 6th grade, we call that 56. More than a clever name, it's 5 and 6, 56. And again, they are the most electric group we have. I love being with those students because you can stand in front of a room of 56ers, spread your arms out wide, tell them how happy you are to be with them, and they are in love. They are happy to be there with you. Reed is our 56 coordinator. He's their guy. Unequivocally, any 56er says, "Reed is my guy," and Reed says, those are my students. Now, they love Reed because, I would say half of that is because Reed is just so dang lovable. I mean, he's cute as a button. He's got it all together. Now, the other half of that is those students love so fast. They are so loving. They just do it. They don't think about it. They just act. They just jump. They just love. That is just who that group is. You could do 10 minutes of stand-up comedy in front of 56, just all fart jokes. Standing ovation. They just love that you are with them, and they love to be with you. They are an electric group. All right, so middle school is our 7th and 8th graders. They are a little different, a little bit tougher, but still a fantastic group of students. They're still super high energy, but you're gonna notice, like, if you are around a 7th or 8th grader, they're gonna have a few more questions. They're gonna have a few more thoughts. That's just because biologically, man, they're starting to develop. Messages are starting to fire. I mean, they've just got more going on now. So they're going to be asking these questions. They do absolutely love unconditionally, but you got to earn it a little bit. With them, there's a brief trial phase, but they're really trying to answer the question, do you like me? And when they feel like you love them, they love right back. It is just an incredible dynamic, a wonderful relationship. Once they know that you're into them, they are way into you. Now, 9th through 12th grade, that is our high school group. This is where things get tricky, all right? So if you've ever lived with a 9th through 12th grader or spent time with them, yeah, it's an adventure. So high schoolers want to know if you like them, but they're also starting to wonder if they like you. See, this is going 2 ways now. Their brains are going through all kinds of changes. Physically, they're going through all kinds of changes. They're asking way deeper questions. There's all kinds of gray area in how they think now. There's this abstract thought that they're experiencing for the first time. And the surface level stuff just doesn't work for them like it used to. Do high school students love fiercely? 110% yes. I would say the love and the relationship with a high school student is the greatest thing. It is way more intense and way more in-depth than the other 2 groups because of who they are and the way they think and the changes they're going through and the exploration that they're trying to figure out. Do they need more than just entertainment and the word of a trusted source? Big time. They don't just want that surface level stuff. High school students want to know why. They want to know the motivation. They want the full story. They say, let me learn something for myself instead of feeding me what you think I should know. And what Thomas is asking here is exactly that. He believes his friends, but he wants more. He wants to know why. He wants to know the motivation. What's behind that? And here's another clue. He mentioned putting his fingers in the wounds of Jesus. If that wasn't a disgusting teenage boy move, I don't know what is. If you follow any of them on social media, Twitter, let's say, they could just be like, oh, super gross, definitely do not watch. Retweet so that you can see it. And it's just like this constant thing of, that is disgusting. You shouldn't watch it. But also, did you see how gross that was? Ooh, this is a teenage boy move for Thomas to be like, I want to poke around. So that's my second clue. The other things that we know about Thomas are from the other times he speaks, and they're all in the book of John. In the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, he's listed, so we know that Thomas is there, that he's present, but he's not given a voice. Only John has actual words from Thomas. In John 11, Jesus gets word that his friend Lazarus is sick. So he says to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. And they were like, hey, Jesus, man, I know you got a lot going on. So you probably, maybe you forgot, but a couple of days when we were in Judea, they were throwing rocks at us. They were trying to stone us. Are you sure you want to go back already? And then Jesus says, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but now I'm going to go and wake him up. And the disciples, being the literal bunch that they tended to be, were just like, well, if he's just sleeping, he'll wake up soon. I mean, he's probably just sleeping one off. I'm sure he'll be fine. LOL, no need to go back when they're throwing rocks at us in Judea. We're cool right here. And Jesus corrects them in a very plain tone where he says, look, Lazarus is dead. And for your sakes, I'm glad I wasn't there. For now, you will really believe. Come on, let's go. So the room falls silent. The disciples have nothing left to say. They've used up some excuses. They've pleaded with Jesus, hey, like, man, this is too dangerous. We don't have to go right now. But in that silence, there's one voice. In John 11:16, we can see that it was Thomas, nicknamed the twin, who said to his fellow disciples, let's go too and die with Jesus. Hey, I kind of think that Thomas was a G. You know, like Thomas was the dude that put the die in ride or die. Thomas was the friend that said, I got your back and I'm ready to back it up whenever you need it. Thomas was the guy that loved so fiercely that nothing was going to come between him and the man and the relationship that he had with Jesus. He said, even if they throw stones, let's go. We go down together. That is who Thomas was. That is what he said when no one else would. When others were making excuses and reasons not to go back, Thomas was the one that said, not only let's go, but let's go and die, because that's our guy. To me, that sounds like a fierce, loving relationship of a young man. One more story about Thomas before we come back to the popular one. So there's a pretty important verse in John. It's John 14:6. And Jesus told them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. And that's something that's made its way onto t-shirts, bumper stickers, songs, posters, you name it, because that verse is a pretty big deal. That is Jesus saying, hey, if you want to know God, you've got to know me first, and nobody gets there without knowing me. But actually, it was Thomas who asked the question to elicit such a response. It was during the Passover celebration. Jesus was preparing for his betrayal and his ultimate arrest and to be turned over. Judas had even already left the room, so Jesus begins to prepare the ones that are left. He's talking with the 11 that are still there, and he says, trust in God, trust in me. There's plenty of room in my Father's home. I'm going away to prepare a place for you, and when everything is ready, I will come and get you so that you will always be with me and where I am, and you know the way. Again, there's only one voice that asked a question during this conversation. See, Jesus had not given out directions. He just said, you're going to know the way. He didn't text the group. He didn't send out a Google Map link. He just said, you're going to know the way. And there was one voice, one hand that went up in John 14:5. He says, no, we don't, Lord. said, Thomas, we have no idea where you're going, so how can we know the way? See, that reminds me of like when I would be in a class or some sort of thing, and they would say, hey, if you have a question, feel free to ask, because there's a lot of people in here, and maybe somebody else has the same question. I imagine that's a very similar situation to what happened here. If they were all being as honest with themselves and each other as Thomas was in that moment, don't you think that somebody else would have been like, yeah, I'm going to need those directions as well, because I have no idea what you just said. Like you said we're going to know the way, and I don't know. I'm thankful that Thomas spoke up for me, and we ride together, maybe. I imagine that's what happened here. And, we talk a lot about the doubting nature of Thomas, but why doesn't anyone ever give this man credit for being bold enough to ask questions? Why can't we consider Thomas a hero of the faith because he had doubts, because he asked questions, and he also had the boldness to ask for more when he didn't know? Man, to me, this sounds like a teenage boy who just wanted more out of life and more out of a relationship with Jesus. I think so much of the time when I find myself wrestling with doubt, and I'm just overcome with a fearfulness that I can't do anything about these doubts and this uncertainty in my life. Like when doubts creep into my mind, they usually speak with a voice of judgment. They're telling me that I shouldn't feel that way, that I shouldn't have doubts, that I shouldn't have questions, because what would people think about me if they knew? My doubt talks to me in a very cynical tone, telling me that I can't pursue truth because who would I possibly trust to help me out anyway? If I don't know, like, who would actually have that? My doubt also tends to shout at me the voice of fear, letting me know that if I ever admitted that I was unsure of this one thing, I would risk losing everything, because how could you possibly know anything if you don't, even for just 1 second, admit to knowing nothing? Doubt speaks through judgment, cynicism, and fear. And I don't want to live that way. I can't live that way. I'm sick of living that way. Actually, I want to live like this dude named Thomas. I want to take a risk. I want to be vulnerable, to maybe live on the edge just a little bit and turn my fearlessness into a sense of wonder. Thomas, remember, is in a room with other people that are his friends. And actually, they're in a locked room because they're scared of what's outside. They're in a locked room, and they are telling Thomas about their experience with Jesus. And Thomas just says, I want that too, but I need more. We have to imagine their reactions because we're not exactly told. But my guess is, since these were his friends, they're just like, seriously? Like, why would we make that up? Look, Jesus is back. Take our word for it. You know us. We're good for it. But Thomas had doubts, and he confronted them anyway, in front of everyone. Not because he didn't believe his friends, but because he trusted Jesus and wanted to experience the majesty of a risen Savior for himself. See, sometimes we believe this lie that if we ask questions or if we admit doubts, that actually is just confirming that we don't believe in anything. When actually, asking a question doesn't prove you don't believe, it's actually proving that you have faith. It's showing that you trust someone enough that they won't belittle you for simply asking. It's an act of trusting that says, I believe you can help me. There's a reason I will never ask my mom to help me troubleshoot an iPhone. I don't trust her. It'll be worse when she gives it back than it was before. But by confronting doubts, Thomas is actually trusting and engaging with someone he loves in spite of the outside risk he may face. I mentioned earlier I'm in this cohort, shout out YMCP, and I was in Nashville Tuesday and Wednesday, and one of my friends in that class, David, he shared this. We were talking about ministry values, and he said, for our students, I want to remind them that it's better to ask good questions than to have correct answers. And I am in love with that statement, not just for student ministry, but for life. I mean, that is just great advice. I mean, my goodness, I love that. I love the idea of Cokesbury Student Ministry being a place that is sending kids out of the church with the ability to ask great questions rather than recite correct answers. We're sending out some powerful students into the world if that is who they are. We're sending young people into the world not willing to blindly accept what is in front of them, but to experience faith and to experience life for themselves, to find a truth about who they are and about who God is. And we can't do that if we're not willing to lead by example. I have to be the kind of man that steps up and says, yo, I don't know, but I know a man that might. I have to be one that shuts down fear and judgment and cynicism and is willing to ask a question and kind of live with that reality of, you know what, I don't know, but I think it's okay. It's those questions that we've got to ask. We got to discover something we didn't know. We have to tear down this idea and rebuild it from an experience and from a God-given truth. Because that's what Thomas did. Let's finish the story in verse 26. 8 days later, the disciples were together again, and this time Thomas was with them. The doors were locked, but suddenly, as before, Jesus was standing among them. Peace be with you, he said. And then he said to Thomas, put your finger here and look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound on my side. Don't be faithless any longer. Believe. My Lord and my God, Thomas exclaimed. Then Jesus told him, you believe because you have seen me, and blessed are those who believe without seeing me. And what a powerful image. Just what a powerful image that is, that here we have a risen Jesus just days earlier had defeated death. And in a room full of people who were scared, he approaches a young man who had the guts to say, I need more. And here he is, Jesus with open arms just says, what do you need to believe? Take what you need. You know, if we want to know who God is, and if we want to ask questions about God, then we just have to turn to the Bible, because that's really our best source for knowing who God is. And when we look at the Bible, it begins with the story of creation. And of all the things that God made, which we believe was everything, his most beautiful one was people. The story continues, and God makes a covenant with a man named Abraham. And Abraham was the father of many nations, the Bible says. And God made a covenant with him and says, Abraham, I'm going to use you and your people to tell the world about who I am and what I'm doing and how we can be together. The rest of the Old Testament tells the story of those people, and it is a roller coaster of emotions. There's good, there's bad. You think there's certain death by the time we get to the end of the Old Testament. But throughout, there is this thread of hope. It's just like, you know, no matter how bad this is, no matter how dark this is, maybe God's up to something else. Maybe he sees this people as a people that can be redeemed, that can be restored, that can be in a relationship with him. Chronologically, the Bible takes about a 300-year break and the New Testament begins, and we meet this man named Jesus. We learn that Jesus is the living flesh embodiment of God, who's come on earth to live, to die, to conquer death. As we keep reading in John, we see God in the shape of Jesus that confronts a young man that had questions, that had doubts, that was maybe confused, maybe a little frustrated, didn't know what to do, and he just says, what do you need to believe? Take what you need to believe. In that moment, when Thomas had trusted Jesus, Jesus had honored his doubt. And in that moment, he said, you belong here. You belong to me. You belong to this community. You're part of this. Take what you need to believe, because everything I am is for you. We're going to have doubts. We're going to feel uncertain. We're going to have some fearful times, but we're also invited into a relationship of belonging, of peace and love. Man, let's be the people that lean in to what Jesus is offering, even in the darkest of days. Let's pray together. Gracious God, we thank you for today. We thank you for your son, Jesus, who came, who lived, who died, who defeated death, and who met a man named Thomas that had a couple questions. God, I'm sure in this room there are people with some questions. And God, I just say, meet us here. God, I'm sure in this room there are people that are just on top of the mountain celebrating. So God, meet us there and rejoice with us. And if we're in the middle, God, you are there with us to just meet with us, God. Let's be the people that look at you. And even on the dark days and the tough times and moments of uncertainty, we're the ones that run toward peace, that run toward love, that run toward belonging, because that's who you are and that's what you offer. God, we thank you for this. Amen.
sing this with us. Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest, and without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. And Lord, I need you. That's it. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found, that's where you are. Yeah. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Yes, where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. And Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense and my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. So teach my song to rise to you when temptation comes my way. When I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Yeah. And when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Read it then. Oh, Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Hey. And Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. One more time, just your voices this morning, lift up that. Lord, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense and my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Amen. I want to thank you guys for worshiping with us this morning. As you take this back to your home life, your work life, your school life, whatever you're doing, just bring this to the people that you come in contact with. Bring them back with you next week. Let them know how they can get involved. We love you guys. We'll see you next weekend.